Hello, my name is Olivia, and I'm an educator here at the Emerald Coast Science Center. This here is Ambassador Regulus and Ambassador Lucy, and well, we're here to welcome you to another episode of Curiosity Uncovered, where we dive deep and demystify some of the curiosities that you may have. Now, our topic today, pythons in Florida, of course, if you could not tell. Now, what kind of pythons though? All kinds. Our friend Regulus here is a ball python, also known as a royal python. Our friend Lucy here is a red-tailed boa. And the skin above me, well, this also comes from another boa constrictor. And while these snakes, yes, can be found in Florida, though no, they shouldn't be here, these are actually not the friends that we're going to be talking about today. The snake today that I want to talk about, the Burmese python. A python bigger than Regulus, bigger than Lucy, and yeah, bigger than this snake shed above me here. First, how about we start with some basics? What is a Burmese python? Well, a Burmese python, like our friends here, are a non-venomous large constrictor and pretty big. In fact, the Burmese python is one of the biggest snakes in the world. It is a native to Southeast Asia, and they're typically found amongst rainforests, swamps, and marshes. And the average length of these pythons, when you find them here in Florida, generally they are about 9 to 12 feet, but the largest python that has actually been found and caught in Florida was 18 feet long. That is longer than a giraffe is tall. That is longer than the average SUV. A pretty big snake. With these snakes, they also have a huge appetite to match and can live a long time, an average of 20 years. Now, this is kind of where we start to get into the problems. As I said, these snakes are not native. So what even is a native animal? Well, a native animal is an animal that is commonly found or has always been a part of that ecosystem. Now, just exactly where and when did these snakes get from Southeast Asia to Florida? Well, they didn't swim or fly on their own. They do not have arms or legs to do so. But they did take trains, planes, and automobiles when people brought them over from places like China, Indonesia, and Myanmar to the United States to sell as pets. They first came over as pets to the United States in the 1960s. Popularity soon exploded. From 1996 to 2006 alone, almost 100,000 of these snakes were brought over for the pet industry. As people got these snakes, though, they did not really realize the responsibilities that may be in place. Some people did look up the information. How long is this snake going to live? How big is this snake going to live? How am I going to feed it? But some people did not know. They saw maybe a small baby Burmese python, maybe no bigger than Regulus, and thought, oh, I can totally take care of a snake that big. And then the next thing you know, a couple years go by and they get as big as Lucy. And then a couple more years go by and the next thing you know, this snake is as big as the skin up here. And people start to panic and go, oh my gosh, what should I do? But instead of going back maybe to the store where they found it and returning it, or seeing if there was someone else that could take care of this snake for them, they may have panicked, or they may have not realized the implications and thought, this is a snake. It can live out in the woods. That's where this will go. And so they tossed them into the swamps, into the marshes, into our Everglades. You may have heard a story, though, of a Hurricane Andrew in 1992 destroying a breeding facility in Miami, and that's how all the pythons got into the ecosystem. Now, that is true. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew did destroy a breeding facility, and a lot of pythons and snakes were accidentally released. So as we can see in this card, 1979 was the first time that one of these snakes was discovered slithering around our swamps in the Everglades, well before the hurricane came through, showing you that pet responsibility did come into play. And they were also really able to gain a foothold because the environment that they're roaming around in is so similar to their native Southeast Asian environments. Swamps, rainforest, marshes, tall grasses, huge rotten logs that they can squeeze and hide themselves in. All of these things can be found here in Florida. One thing that can't be found in Florida, a lot of their natural predators, things Like tigers, we don't have those here. By not having a lot of natural predators, they really were able to gain that foothold. So with such a big snake, you're probably wondering, what's happening to our environment? Not a lot of good things. With such a large snake that was not originally from this area, the animals that live here don't really quite know how to handle or deal with it. And, well, as we mentioned, these snakes have a very large appetite. As we can see in this graphic here, this is how much food a Burmese python needs to eat. And this is just a guess, we think, in order for it to reach 13 feet in 5 to 7 years. Yeah, that is a lot of food. This pyramid, I love this graphic because it really can demonstrate to us just how much it eats. Look at all of those rats and the opossums and the skunks. Yes, you even see large animals up there, like white-tailed deer and alligators. And well, let me just tell you this tip. Alligators, when they reach 4 feet, they're supposed to be top dog, but no longer. These snakes get so large, and they are able to stretch their mouths so wide, as snakes can do. They gobble up everything in sight. Even recently, there was a discovery of a Burmese python feeding on a white-tailed deer. The snake was able to stretch its mouth so wide that it reached 93% of its maximum gape. How large a snake is able to stretch its mouth. So these guys really are no joke for our wildlife. In fact, as I mentioned, the pythons have been in the Everglades for a long time, and they gobble up a lot of food. In some areas where those pythons have been established, the mammal population has dropped anywhere from 90 to 100%. So then what are we doing about such a creature? Well, we're trying to do a lot. Unfortunately, there is no getting rid of pythons at this point. They have now established themselves in South Florida. So all efforts that we do at this point are just trying to prevent the spread of the pythons further up into the state. And they are spreading. They're starting to even now be found in Georgia at this point. So again, what are we doing? Well, trackers are one of the best ways that we have found to try to help us out. We use a surgery to implement a tracker into the body of the snake. And using radio signals, we can then look for and find its movements. But you would be surprised how difficult it is still to find an 18-foot snake buried in the dirt. So we are also doing things like the python hunts that we have now started to do yearly here in Florida. In August, we all drag ourselves out into the swamps, sweat it out, and try our best to find those non-native Burmese pythons to help, again, keep that from spreading. But the newest, coolest, latest technology in the fight against pythons? Robotic rabbits. That is right. They have now started to create small robotic rabbits that move and act like real marsh rabbits that emit heat, so that when the snake is using that heat pits to look for food, they can find them, and they even smell like real rabbits too. The goal is that once these robotic rabbits are eaten, they are able to use that tracker inside to find the python, learn its information, and, well, remove it from the ecosystem. So that's the story on pythons and how they got here into Florida. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Curiosity Uncovered, and I hope you had a lot of fun learning something new. See you next time.